all tied in, all locked in together. And if you wanted a defenseman to score goals, I mean, he had one, and you sent them away.
Callie Rosen.
He scored a lot of goals last year.
Yeah, he was
He
pretty
didn't
good.
mind shooting the puck.
I do think, by the way, I'm guilty of this. We look at Torrey Krug still as the guy that was signed when Alex Pietrangelo left. We look at Krug as a guy who's supposed to score a bunch, well, not necessarily goals, but make the power play productive. But he's not the only guy on the ice.
Yeah.
We have to look at everybody else. It's not just Torrey Krug, but he's kind of a beacon. He's kind of like Rudolph's red nose because he makes the money, because he was signed after Pietrangelo left, and because the Blues aren't scoring on the power play. And when you play the position, quarterback of the power play, it's on you.
And because they were talking about trading him in the offseason.
Right, good point.
That's another glaring point. When there's a player that you attempted to trade and he, exercises no trade clause, you're going to have more people watching you closely and intently saying, hey, you said you wanted to be here. You said you wanted to correct what was going on from last year. Come on, let's go. Let's get to it. And so you haven't scored any goals on the power play, which is, I think that's just absurd. I don't know how that's even possible, but you have to figure some things out. And I think as a whole, everyone is, the last game was
I don't think you
wonderful.
need to call him any names.
The last game was a very good game. I feel like they figured some things out. Maybe it was because they were playing an older team, a slower team in Pittsburgh. We'll see. I was talking to Alex Ferrario yesterday, and he was saying we'll have a better gauge of what this team is over these next couple of games, because these teams are, these are teams that you should beat. But if you struggle or kind of just sludging through the mud against these teams, you probably have a better idea what this Blues hockey team is.
And that's a fair point, because the Coyotes is a young, fast team, and that's what you saw with the Penguins. Obviously, very talented, but older.
Yep.
So then you wonder what exactly this Blues team is right now. With Torrey Krug, and you mentioned Alex Pietrangelo, I find myself guilty of that too, where I think about that whole situation. Didn't want to see Alex Pietrangelo leave. We know, obviously, how much he meant to the Blues organization, how much he wanted to stay in St. Louis. It was something that didn't work out financially and also contract-wise. And then you bring in Torrey Krug, and he's battled injuries season after season. Can he stay healthy this year? Can he continue to be a part of this conversation? And, oh, by the way, a big part of the Blues power play was David Perron. And so you lost essentially that player, too, who was a big part of it.
Right.
And Torrey Krug is expected to step into that role. And maybe it's just that health-wise he hasn't been able to really get that going. But you hope that this season he will be able to do that, because you need him to do that. He's staying here in St. Louis. He's not going anywhere right here at this moment. And you have to be able to figure this out. Because Scott Perunovich, he did sign a one-year contract. When will we get to be able to see what exactly that looks like? Because he's also a Hobie Baker Award winner.
Right.
You got to figure out what's going on there, but he's also battled injuries in the past.
So far in the league, Colorado hasn't lost. They have 10 points. They're 5-0. Dallas has not lost in regulation. They're 3-0-1. They're in second place. And like Armstrong said, Colorado and Dallas at the top of the division. Here we are 5 games into the season, and those two teams are Arizona and Nashville. Both have 6 points. The Blues and Minnesota have 5. Winnipeg is 2-3 on the season. They're 1-2 at home. And then Chicago, 2-4 with only 4 points. So the Blues hopefully can take advantage of the Winnipeg situation tonight and handle the Jets before they go to Calgary on Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night, the day after Hump Day.
And Pavel Buchnevich, there was an update about him. It looks like he was out practicing, but will probably be unlikely for tonight's game. He was wearing a no-contact jersey, so, and I think Jeremy Rutherford tweeted out, he asked me, he was like, I don't know what I'm doing yet. No idea. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say we're going to have to wait at least maybe one more game, or we're going to see him, I would say, probably towards the end or the last game of this road trip.
I think Curves made a good point about that line with Saad on it on the first line instead of Buchnevich. It may actually work out better, because he said Saad brings a little bit more on the defense, a two-end player where, Buchnevich is on there. Not that he's not playing defense, but those guys are looking to score first and be more aggressive on the offensive end. So, maybe having Saad up there is a blessing in disguise, and now Buchnevich can go down to the second line.
Yep. I want to swing back. One more point that I want to make about Krug. I think I know enough about the guy, and I like him. He's a nice guy, and he did have 32 points last year. He led Blues defensemen in points, but I know what he's going to give me. I would rather see Scott Perunovich in the lineup and get an opportunity, because I don't know about him. It's not an affront to Torrey Krug. It's because I want to find out about the guy that I don't know about.
Exactly. You don't know what exactly is going to happen with Scott Perunovich or what he will look like because we haven't been able to see that on a consistent basis. And that is nothing against Torrey Krug, but I think that the Blues obviously felt the same way that you did because they were going to try to move him this offseason. So now you're in this position. I don't know. I mean, you don't, at this point, maybe you do want to have somebody be a healthy scratch so you can get Perunovich in there because how many games are we going to wait till we do get to see him?
Yeah.
Where he's not going to be in the press box.
And if you're up in the press box, you won't injure your foot.
Nope.
Pretty sure about that. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Tioli next time, 101 ESPN. As the renaissance of St. Louis occurs, one of the most important parts of it is going to be public transportation. And a healthy metro is vital to the viability of our region to attract Fortune 500 companies. If you already like Metro, well, you're going to love it once you know what difference it makes in all of our communities. And if you have a negative perception, well, think about the quantifiable positive difference that Metro continues to make on both sides of the river. Wherever you work, wherever you play, Metro can make a difference for you. I use the MetroLink for sporting events. So many people on both sides of the river use it to get to work, whether in downtown or in Clayton, and it really is efficient. And if you think Metro isn't safe, do yourself a little homework and find out for yourself that Metro is a lot safer than you probably ever thought it was. Want to support your community? Well, riding Metro supports local business and helps to reduce traffic congestion. So here's what I like to do is use Metro. I don't let preconceived notions hold me back. Give Metro a chance and experience the benefits for yourself. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
it or leave it.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there? If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Time for Tioli. Get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. 314-399 Yo-ho. Brooke, Carey, Matthew, and Randy. And guys, we saw yesterday that Giannis Antetokounmpo signed a $186 million 3-year. Think about that. 3 years, $186 million extension with the Bucks. And as the NBA season starts tonight, the Celtics and the Bucks are the co-favorites to win the title. Take it or leave it. With Giannis in Milwaukee, they win at least one more championship.
Oh, I'm going to take it.
Ooh, yeah, I'm going to take that.
Maybe this year with Lillard?
Yes, I mean, they I don't know who else in the East is going to present any problems.
Only Boston.
I don't know. Are they? Because they seem to fall.
But they got Porzingis now.
That didn't move me.
Come on.
Randy.
He's 7'6".
Hashtag heat culture.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jimmy
heat
Butler's
culture.
determined now to
That
beat the
doesn't-
Bucks because Damian didn't get traded there.
That's true.
That
But
doesn't move me.
What
either.
about Jimmy's hair, though?
I think it's back to normal.
He said heat
darn.
culture's real.
Back to normal.
I think it's back to
He's not
normal.
emo anymore?
Yeah. That was
Oh, okay.
fun.
I thought that was
strange.
serious.
But that's the photo you use for the whole season as a media
Exactly.
person because that's his media photo.
I love that.
By the way, I'm worried about the old teams. I'm worried about the Lakers. I'm worried about the Warriors.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the Suns. Because it's really hard to play in the playoffs, especially now when you have rules against load management.
Sitting out.
Yep, I think it's going to be hard for those teams with mid-30s guys to win.
I think I still feel like the Warriors have one more run in them.
You know who the scariest team in the league is? Still Denver.
Yeah, they are. If you can figure out how to stop Jokic, that would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't
Nobody's
know.
been able to do that.
So for the last, I guess, 50 minutes, I didn't have a computer. It wasn't working properly. I couldn't. Rock had to restart it and
You
get
did
it
a
figured out.
fantastic job without a computer.
Listen, I got my personal computer.
Okay.
It's just not the same. Take it or leave it. Not having all of your work materials is one of the most frustrating things to have go on at work.
Oh,
I'll
take it.
take it.
It's stressful. You were very stressed over here. I was
Some
concerned.
of
We
it.
were trying to
Yeah.
figure this out.
You know what, though? It makes you better.
So I have another take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
I told you all about my computer last year. Take it or leave it. This computer was about to meet the same fate.
I'll take it.
Oh, I'll take it. I felt it coming. I felt that it would have the same fate that was on the way.
it wasn't nobody gonna be able to use it today.
No, they're insured.
They're like, what happened here? It's like thrown out the window. What happened? Take it or leave it, guys. My Tennessee Titans are scuffling, and they traded one of my favorite players, Kevin Byard. They call him the mayor of Murfreesboro because we both went to Middle Tennessee State University, which is located in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the literal middle of Tennessee. That's why it's called that. And I got to cover Kevin while I was in college and while he was there. He is such a spectacular player on and off the field, does a lot of charity work. Take it or leave it, Derrick Henry will not be far behind him. By the way, he was traded to the Eagles, where he'll be reunited with A.J. Brown, which is just fantastic.
I don't know who takes Derrick Henry though. I'm gonna have to leave it.
I saw a rumor. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody had a Derrick Henry rumor just yesterday.
Who
needs Derrick
His
Henry?
name's definitely been out there for
Chicago.
trade.
It's got to be a team that's planning on winning this
There you
year,
go.
right?
Yeah.
Cowboys, I believe, was the one. Is that the one you were referring to?
Cowboys is the name that
was
came to
thrown around?
mind.
Yeah.
Man, they
I'm
paid
gonna
Tony
take it.
Pollard, didn't they? They give Tony Pollard some money.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not winning the
I
championship.
will take it. What about,
Cleveland.
yeah?
They lost their running back, but I don't know.
Oh, the team I saw was Buffalo.
Oh. Okay.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah. So there you go. But I'll take it, Brooke, that he does get Derrick Henry is on his way out of Tennessee. Sad but true.
It's very
All right,
sad.
Matthew, what do we have on the text line?
take it or leave it. I thought it was a stipulation whenever you signed on as the Titans GM that you weren't allowed to call Howie Roseman anymore.
That was the last. That was the
Take
last.
it.
That was
They
the last.
didn't put that in the new contract?
That was the last
No
coach.
calls
That
to
was
the
the last.
Philadelphia area code.
Yeah, please
Don't
no
take any
more.
calls. Don't send any calls. You don't.
Hey, we'll
do
take some
anything.
calls. We'll take some
So
calls.
back in the day,
we get
when
back some guys.
when the Rams first came here, they had a tight end in their first year named Troy Drayton. Our GM's name was Steve Ortmeyer. And Jimmy Johnson was running the Dolphins at the time. And Steve Ortmeyer traded Troy Drayton, who was a pretty good tight end, to Miami for an offensive lineman named Billy Milner. And I asked Steve Ortmeyer, I said, aren't you worried when Jimmy Johnson calls for one of your players? He said, no, this is a trade that he's not going to win.
Denial. Take it or leave it. Chili with cinnamon rolls. This person sent this in a bunch, and I finally relented.
Okay,
You're saying 2
I'm
separate
leaving it.
things, right? Like
At the same time.
Chili with cinnamon rolls.
Nah, I'm good.
I don't know if you're
That's a
dipping.
neat-
I
that's a
don't know
no
if
for
you're.
me.
No, you're not dipping.
I don't know if
Please
you're
tell me you're not
lathering.
dipping.
That's a no for me,
I
dog.
don't know if it, well, hold on a second. Brooke, what if it's supposed to be kind of like a fry in the frosty
No.
kind of situation here?
It's a no for me, dog.
No.
I'm willing, not that I dip it, but I'm willing to give this an opportunity, but it needs to be the right cinnamon roll. It can't be one that's like the Brecco cinnamon rolls are delicious. They've got like a great frosting. This can't be a frosted cinnamon roll, and it has to be off to the
chili?
side.
I don't
The
think
sweet and I love the sweet and savory combo.
What?
There's creative stuff that happens.
What is
I don't
happening
know.
What
with
is
these
happening with
texts that are
chili?
coming in?
No, stop. Stop it, St. Louis.
This is not
Stop
real.
it. Stop it. We
Are they pranking us?
They must be
Are people
618. Oh my God, we got
This is
two from
two
two
of
different
them.
people. 618. Chili with crackers and ranch dressing.
Nope.
Chili with peanut butter sandwiches. Chili with a PB&J sandwich. In fairness, those are from the 618, the 573, and the 636. I still love you, 314.
Leave it all.
They are chili with peanut
mind.
butter sandwich is a real thing?
Yeah, 314 just texted in and ruined it. No, chili with a peanut butter sandwich and a glass of milk.
I grew up with
What is
PBJ
happening?
and chili.
What is happening?
Chili with just some oyster crackers is fine.
Oh, you hauler. Get back, y'all.
There's a lot happening here. I mean, as long as everything is very separate, please no dipping of these things. I think
No.
that's where
Chili
I'm
with
completely
a
out.
peanut butter sandwich.
No jelly though.
No jelly.
No
one side.
jelly.
Are
You have to have jelly.
What?
Wait, what?
Where is this
There
coming
are
from?
literally 5 or 6 texts that say this.
Hey,
I know.
my
it's
food
not-
takes don't seem so bad now, do they?
No, they still are, but this is
damn.
terrible.
Chili and cornbread. Thank you. Thank you.
Put these
That's
people
normal.
on a
That's it.
list.
Take it or leave it. City makes it to the MLS Cup, and they play the game in snow.
Take
Oh.
it.
I like that.
It'll be great.
It'll be the early second week of December would be the MLS Cup, December 9th, I believe.
Let's
Good
play it.
Lord.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Although, I don't know, with the way the weather's going right now, there's a good chance it might be like 65. Nice little breeze going through there on December 9th with the way the weather's going in St. Louis.
This is wild.
This is wild. It's
Are
a
we
very
getting pranked right
it's
now?
a
we are,
very
yeah.
real thing. PBJ and chili is pretty common in the Midwest. It's like standing outside to watch a tornado, which I've
Excuse
never
me?
done either.
No.
You don't do that? No. You don't. You don't go say. I'm gonna go take a look at this.
I'll wait.
That's a different kind of thing. That's a different kind of thing.
I'm good.
Somebody
No,
said
thank
chili
you.
with a Peter butter sandwich. Why are you eating Peter and putting him in butter?
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thank you very much for your millions of texts about chili here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, what do the Cardinals have to do to get to the level of teams like the Rangers and the Phillies and the Diamondbacks? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Carey, and as you all know, I am getting my new deck built. It is almost done. They are finishing the final steps of it, putting the steps on literally, hopefully as we speak, and finishing up today or tomorrow, and should be in the good space of having a deck to spend a couple of more days to get some barbecue out before the weather really breaks. If you need a new deck, you need to go to STL Design and Build. They have been working with me. They have done a great job. My project coordinator, Becky, has been amazing, absolutely amazing. If I text her, she answers, she responds quickly. We have the Builder Trend app, which I can go to, log on to, and sign up for anything that needs to be approved or denied in a moment. It takes as long as it takes to open up your phone and go to Facebook, go to Instagram. It's that simple. They are a great company. They have done a great job. STL Design and Build are there for you. STL, obviously, the owners are from St. Louis, so it stands for St. Louis, but it also stands for Sky's the Limit, because they are going to treat you how they want to be treated. Check them out online today at stldesignandbuild.com. That's stldesignandbuild.com.
A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Brought to you by Schnucks Rewards. It pays to shop at Schnucks. Download the Schnucks Rewards app today.
St. Louis Time Check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. It's the Opening Drive with Brooke Grimsley, Carey Davis, and Randy Karraker. And tomorrow at this time, we'll know the matchup for the 2023 World Series. It will be the Texas Rangers against either the Philadelphia Phillies or the Arizona Diamondbacks. And when you look at the Cardinals and try to compare and find out what the Cardinals need to do during this offseason to get to a World Series level, the thing that strikes me, Brooke and Carey, right off the bat, is that the Phillies have Wheeler and Nola. The Diamondbacks have Gallen and Kelly. The Rangers have Eovaldi and Scherzer and Montgomery. Those teams all have top two starters. They have a 1-2 punch that the Cardinals don't have anybody that could penetrate. The Cardinals need to start there, and we all know that. It's obvious. The Cardinals need to start with starting pitching, but there's a lot more that goes into this.
Starting pitching is the first, I guess, thing you need to scratch off of your list. They have to go out and get a 1A, 1B type pitching to get this thing rolling, because they got some holes to fill. Then you need to go to the relievers. You need to figure out who can come up and compete in high leverage situations and not falter, not fold, and can do it consistently night after night. And hopefully your starting pitching does not have them doing eating up too many innings each game, finding out who your closer is. And then I think the final thing is figuring out what the lineup is going to be every single day, having some consistency. The Atlanta Braves, we talked about it, they played their 8 position players played every single day, pretty much almost every day. They may have missed 5 to 10 games each amongst them. So those guys playing 150 games, 145 games plus, it just leads to that consistency and knowing where you are and where you're going to be batting in the lineup every single day. It gives you, more confidence.
And to your point about lineup consistency, the Braves only had one regular that didn't start at least 139 games. That was the catcher.
Yes.
Where they had 2 good ones in Darno and Sean Murphy.
The Rangers also do that. The Rangers put out the same lineup essentially every single game. And you've seen that consistently. And they're the perfect balance of these veteran players and then young players. I think that's really what the Cardinals were hoping would happen this season, especially when it came to players on the position side of things, is that they were hoping some of these young guys would mesh at the perfect time with these veteran guys. And I think that they were hoping that they would outslug everybody and you can out-hit them, but you can't do that on a consistent basis. The biggest thing is the starting pitching, CD, as you mentioned. That is priority number 1. I mean, there's no way around it. Every single team in this postseason has a two-headed monster, essentially. The Cardinals need that. They don't have that threat currently, so that's something they have to go get this offseason. And then if that's going to be priority number one, bullpen is 1A. Because that has to be addressed.
Yeah, if you look at the Cardinal bullpen now with Helsley as your closer, Gallegos, Romero, Verhagen probably won't be back, Palante, John King, that is not a group that in the last season inspired much confidence. And then you look at what, for example, Philadelphia has. And The Athletic had a great piece about the Philadelphia bullpen and Dave Dombrowski, non-analytics guy, building that bullpen. But when they bring in Kimbrel and Alvarado, and they bring in that Matt Strahm to finish games, who throws the daylights out of the ball, and Kerkering and Soto, who's been an all-star, and Sir Anthony Dominguez, they're loaded in the bullpen. Texas is loaded now in the bullpen. After struggling for most of the season, they kind of rebuilt things on the fly, and they have a lot of really good pitching down there. And Arizona, while a young bullpen, has a group of people that give you a different look every single day.
You know what else I think will help the Cardinals is a healthy competition in spring training. You have to earn that 3, 4, 5 spot in the rotation, and if not, then you'll probably be in the bullpen. And you know, Steven Matz, I thought did a great job returning back to the starting rotation after struggling earlier in the season. But I don't think anybody other than Miles Michaelis, because you've paid him and he's shown it, you know, consistently throughout his entire career. Can you say with great conviction that any of these guys deserve to be in the starting rotation just without competing for it? So I think you have to have that competition. That has to be the mindset. You all are fighting, not fighting for a roster spot because you've been paid, you're going to be here, but fighting for the right to be one of those 5 starters. And if not, you'll be one of our bullpen guys, high leverage or not. It's just dependent upon how well or you perform or how you don't.
I hope that competition has started now, especially on the pitching side. I hope that the Cardinals gave some of these players, especially like a Matthew Liberatore, a plan of what role that they want to see them in going into spring training and going into the season, so that you're not once again behind the ball on figuring out who's going to be where. Zach Thompson, is he going to be a starter? I hope that he's going to be somebody that you look at as a starter. But as you're identifying these roles, and I know that this is very, it hinges on if you're going to go get certain pitchers, but if you say you're going to go get 2, 3 starting pitchers, then you should already have given a plan to Zach Thompson, to Matthew Liberatore on what roles that you want for them next season. So you're already working ahead instead of what you saw this season, where a lot of these pitchers, the plan changed several times throughout the season, and you're already behind.
Defensively, the Cardinals in 2023 were 20th in defensive runs saved. The Diamondbacks were 4th, the Rangers were 7th, and Philadelphia was down the list. They were 27th, but Philadelphia offsets the bad defensive metrics with Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber. They're 2 not great outfielders, but you've got one guy that hit almost 50 home runs and another guy that drove in almost 100 runs. For me, because of what the Cardinals are, the only guy that really kind of fits that role right now is Nolan Gorman, the guy whose offense can offset lacking defense. Otherwise, I believe that, and especially with Jordan Walker, they need to play better defense, way better defense than they did this year.
I thought Jordan got a lot better as the season went on. He started making strides towards to being a much better outfielder. I assume that it'll only get better for 2024. The question is, who's in the outfield? Lars, is he your center fielder? Is he your left fielder? If not, who's your center fielder? Is it Tommy Edman playing center field every day? Okay, well, who's playing second base? That goes back to the consistency. Who is playing where every single day, getting familiar, getting comfortable with it. If you put Tommy Edman in center field every day, he's probably a Gold Glove center fielder. I mean, finalist, at least, because he does a fantastic job of getting the balls. Doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's going to track down balls that other center fielders won't. If you put him at second base every day, he already has won a Gold Glove at that position. So he's a Gold Glove center fielder or a Gold Glove second baseman, but having him at 1 every single game, I think helps with, helps the defense. It helps you be more consistent. But finding out who else is going to play in that outfield alongside those other 2 guys.
And figure out which guys that you trust in those roles. Because I think that's a big thing to take away from all these teams, but especially when we were talking about the Braves earlier, is those defined roles so that those guys can consistently grow in that position and feel comfortable in it. And of course, competition is warranted, especially when you're still trying to figure out this outfield and everything that's going on. But knowing here, this is your role, this is your spot, and I hope that they identified that going into this offseason and have a plan on how to handle that so that you're not going to be behind when it comes to spring training and then even go into season, because you can't have all this stuff going on that you saw this season. I know that there was injuries, especially with Tyler O'Neill. I think that they were banking on Tyler O'Neill to actually be a more consistent player than what he was this year, but then it seemed like the plans just were flying by the seat of their pants, essentially.
And Brooke, that leads me to one more thing here. And I'm not even going to get into the manager because I think Bochy, if he wanted to, could paint by numbers. I think Rob Thompson could. I think that Torey Lovullo could. But this year, the Rangers, games played. The catcher, 131. First baseman, 161. Second baseman, 162. Shortstop, 119. The third baseman played 122. 107 for Travis Jankowski in left. The center fielder played 143. The right fielder played 148. So you had a bunch of guys playing games. For Philadelphia, you had a bunch of guys playing games, and you didn't have a ton of injuries. You had Real Muto playing 134. You had Stott play 151. Turner 155. Bohm 145. Schwarber 160. Marsh 133. Castellanos 157. Harper 126. The Cardinals, along these lines, in terms of their starters playing games, you had Contreras at 125, Goldie at 154. Gorman only played 119. Nominally, DeYoung was your shortstop, but he was out for a long time. Arenado did play 144, but Tyler O'Neill only played 72. Nootbaar only played 117. Walker only played 117. Burleson only played 107. You need to have more consistency and more health from your lineup, and that's just something that the Cardinals need to fix.
Yeah, and how do you fix that? Do you address the changes when it comes to strength and conditioning this offseason? We talked about it before that a lot of these teams, too, and with the Diamondbacks, I believe it was specifically overhauled their strength and conditioning. And I think that maybe is something that you look into because there has to be something there. Yep. I know that it is on the players to manage their health and everything they're doing, but when you had so many injuries this season, other than Lars Nootbaar, the Lars Nootbaar one was a freak accident that could happen.
The contact injury?
Yes, the contact injury.
Tough one.
Contact injury. Outside of that, when you hear that Matthew Liberatore got hurt during training, and then you hear some of the other ones, you start to wonder maybe if there's something that could be adjusted.
Matz, didn't he get hurt wasn't he working out as well? Deadlifting?
Waino
like
was.
that.
I thought Steven Matz got hurt.
I think he was,
doing
That's
deadlifting.
Right. Yeah. And then you had the guys with the bad back.
When did that start?
About a week back.
We got to get rid of that. That is something that has to be addressed. You know, I said that starting pitching 1A is bullpen, and then 2 is going to be back issues.
There we go.
I'm looking at these numbers, and so I think the Cardinals also have to. You talked about how they trusted Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson coming into this season. I think if you are the Cardinals, maybe that ship has sailed on both of those guys because you've seen enough of them. Carlson has played 388 games. O'Neill has played 477 games. You know who they are, and that's in 6 years for O'Neill. So he's not playing nearly enough games per year to know what he is. Looking at Adolis Garcia, he played 21 games in a Cardinal uniform before you said, that's enough.
Wow.
That's enough.
Randy Arozarena, he played 19 games in a Cardinals uniform. Yeah. That's enough. We don't need to see enough. But we have to continue to see other guys that got to make it make sense. So if you've seen enough, if you had saw enough from Garcia and Arozarena after I guess 40 games combined, I would assume you've seen enough from the other guys after almost 1,000 games, 700, 800 games combined.
Tyler Dillon, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
Can't get fooled again.
Can't get fooled again. Thank you, sir. Well done. That's where I was going. So that's today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to talk to John Kelly from Winnipeg here on 101 ESPN.
St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues Booth. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors, a proud partner of your St. Louis Blues. Find your perfect new floor at our 4 convenient locations and online at boardwalkhardwood.com.
Grimsley, Carey Davis, Randy Karraker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN. The Blues at Winnipeg tonight, and you'll be able to hear that game here on 101 ESPN. See it on Bally Sports with our own Jamie Rivers and the gentleman who joins us this morning, as he does every Tuesday morning, the TV voice of the Blues, John Kelly. JK, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Hey, how impressive was the bounce-back win over Pittsburgh to you on Saturday night?
It was extremely impressive, and, it's coming off a very disappointing effort a couple of nights earlier against the Arizona Coyotes, and, you didn't really know what to make of that game, but the Blues really picked it up and played, I think, their best 60-minute game of the season. So, that's a good team over there, the Pittsburgh Penguins, with the likes of Crosby and Malkin. I don't think that I need to tell you guys that, and the Blues really – they had some big saves early from Jordan Binnington, but for the most part, I think they really controlled the game and got some big goals and won the game 4-2. So it was great to see.
JK, it was obviously the Brandon Saad game outside of Jordan Binnington's performance, which was fantastic, but Brandon Saad also really, really good. What do you think about him on the top line with Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou?
Well, I think we talked about it last week when Buchnevich went down with his injury. Is that not only does he have the speed and a lot of skill, but I think he's a really dependable two-way player, and I think that's good for younger players, especially like Thomas and Kyrou, and I think he's a good fit there. So I like the line, and obviously in the last game it was their best game together. I know they've only played a couple, but Buchnevich has skated the last couple of days, and we'll see if he is ready to go tonight. Not really sure at all. We'll find out at the morning skate. But, in the meantime, Saad has done a really good job there. And his speed is very deceptive, as we know, and really could have had 3 or 4 goals the other night. That's how well he played.
JK, can you talk about what goes into, I guess, the difference from how they played against the Coyotes to how they played against the Penguins? What changed? What shifted?
Well, it's a good question, Carey. I think the biggest difference to me is their connectivity, if that's a word. They were together all night, and conversely, against the Coyotes, they weren't together. And they come into the zone. One guy was on the puck and had no support, and for the most part, they were one and done in the offensive zone. In the last game, they moved up the ice as a 5-man unit, had a lot of great puck support. Scored some great goals off the rush and things like that. And defensively, they packed it in again and played really well. So I think that's the biggest thing is they played together as a 5-man unit. And I know the coach talked a lot about execution and passing, and their passing and execution was miles better than it was on Thursday. That's pretty obvious. So I'd say those are the 2 biggest things, the execution and the how connected they were all night.
And they still haven't found how to get the puck in on the power play. What needs to happen there? Is it just shooting the puck more, being more connected, as you said, or is there something else that's missing?
Well, I think the last 2 games, not the last 2 games, but the power play I think was pretty good in the last game. I think they had a number of pretty good chances on their 2 power plays, and the last power play against Arizona when they put the second unit on was very good. I get the sense, I'm not trying to be a homer here, but I get the sense that it's coming and they're on to something, and hopefully I'm right, because special teams, as we know, are critical every single night. So they've got to find a way. And the power play struggled last year, and historically under Berube and before him under Hitchcock and Mike Yeo, the Blues have had a very good power play. So, hopefully that it's just an early season, not slump necessarily, but I think it's too early for that. But I do think that it is getting better, and hopefully they can get rewarded tonight here in Winnipeg.
John Kelly is with us on 101 ESPN. And JK, we really haven't had an opportunity with Jake Neighbors to see him consistently, but they move him up to the second line the other night. When you look at the Jake Neighbors skill set, does and we don't know if the player is going to wind up being a top 6 player, but does his skill set show you that he has that capability to be a top 6?
Well, I think the jury's out on that, Randy. I think that for sure he's a top 9 player. And, whether he can move consistently from, say, third line left wing to second line left wing, that's a big step because, now you're expecting from your second line left winger to score, you would think at least 20 goals, if not 30. Is he capable of that? I don't know. He's still such a young player. But I do know the two things that I really like about Jake are number one is speed. He's a good skater. And that's so important in today's game. And the other thing is he thinks the game very well. He's a smart hockey player. If you watch him play, he, puts pucks in right places, goes to the front of the net, does things like that. And he's fearless. So he has a lot of really good attributes. But whether it translates into being a 30-goal scorer or a 15 or 20-goal scorer, I really think it's too early to say. But he's a good kid, very respectful, and I know the Blues think a lot of him.
Pavel Buchnevich was out at practice and practicing the other day, but still wearing a no-contact jersey. It seems like that he will be questionable for tonight, but when he does return, are you putting him on the second line or are you putting him back on the top line, and how much does that change things?
Probably a better question for the coach, right? He's the coach. What would I do? I would put Buchnevich back on the top line and put Saad back where he was. So, I think that you go through all of camp and you use different combinations, either twosomes or threesomes, and you like what you've seen. There's no reason after a game or two, just because of one injury, to break that up and not come back with that. So Buchnevich, I think, has special chemistry with Robert Thomas and Carey. They played a lot together last year. So I like that unit, and obviously I like Brandon Saad. So it's a good problem to have, really, when you have, again, it's a young season, but, Neighbors coming off a really good game, and assuming he plays in that same spot tonight, you like internal competition because you want all your players to perform to their best, right? So I think it's a good problem to have that, Neighbors had a really good game and hopefully another one tonight and make those decisions tough on the coach.
Jordan Bennington has been playing his butt off. He's been outstanding so far this season. What are you seeing from him in terms of how well he's playing?
Carey, I think two things. Number one, I've always said that when he plays well, and for that matter, really any goaltender, he's aggressive. He's out of that blue paint, out of that goal crease, at the top of the crease or out even farther, and challenging shooters, taking away their shooting angles and things like that. And the other thing, and Jamie Rivers mentioned this on the broadcast the other night, is that pucks seem to be just sticking to him. And that's a great thing. Why that is, I don't know. But, when he absorbs a shot on his pads or his, the midsection, whatever, he's not giving up giant, juicy rebounds. So his rebound control is really good, and he's really aggressive. And I think if you have those two things as a goaltender, you're going to be fine. So early on, he's been obviously awesome, and I expect that to continue here tonight.
And with that being the case, Joel Hofer, who's from Winnipeg, probably has some friends and family in the stands, but they won't get to see him. But, John, would you anticipate, with the Blues playing back-to-back at Calgary and Vancouver on Thursday and Friday, would you anticipate that we'll probably see Hofer in one of those games?
Yeah, no question, Randy. Coach Berube has really never played any goaltender, and Bennington's been his number one guy since he took over, obviously. He doesn't play him on back-to-back nights. So, as you said, the Blues play Calgary Thursday, Vancouver Friday. You have travel involved and things like that. So I don't think there's any question that he would play in one of the two games on either Thursday or Friday. But, he had a tough night against Arizona. But at the same time, I think if you look at that game, he made a lot of really good saves. Could he have had the third goal back or maybe another one perhaps? But I don't think that his play really was reflective of the score. I think as I said, he faced 42 shots on goal and didn't have a chance really on a lot of them. So I'd like to see him bounce back and get in the net, sooner than later, and I think he will on Thursday or Friday.
John Kelly, always good to hear your voice. Thanks so much for the time. Have a great day in Winnipeg, and we will be tuned in tonight as the Blues take on the Jets.
All right, thanks for having me. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet. Thank you, sir. John Kelly and Jamie Rivers tonight on Bally Sports with the Blues at Winnipeg, and then, as we mentioned, at Calgary on Thursday and at Winnipeg or at Vancouver on Friday. Brooke is here. Carey is here. I'm Randy, and we have a returning fighter for the fight coming up next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN is your home for Blues hockey. Every month during the season, you can check out either the 101 mobile app or 101ESPN.com for your chance to get entered to win for a pair of tickets to an upcoming Blues home game at Enterprise Center. New winners picked every month throughout the season for free tickets to see the Blues in action, courtesy of 101 ESPN. Get entered to win now online at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
Hey, it's Randy. I want to talk to you about perhaps selling your home. Are you considering moving, whether you're going to upsize or downsize? Selling your home, your current home, can be a daunting task, and that's why you need a reliable and experienced and trusted agent like Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Here's why you need to call her at 314-325-6888, because her name is her promise, and it says it all. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed-to price and time frame, or she's going to buy it herself, and that's guaranteed. Does your agent compare to that? Gloria has solutions for every type of home seller. For sellers who want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria's 24-hour cash offer solution is a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer bid from Gloria's database of buyers and what she calls her cash offer bid box. Find out more by going to GloriaHasTheBuyers.com or call 314-325-6888 and talk to Gloria Liu.
Spectrum Business is made to work the way small business works. Made to rise and grind. Made to start small, but think big. Made to do this and that all at once. And made to do it all with fast, easy-to-use, ultra-reliable internet, phone, and mobile services. Working together to connect every aspect of your business. Because when you're made to work this hard, you need a seamless network made to work even harder. Spectrum Business, made to work. Learn more at spectrum.com/work.
How would you like to make no mortgage payments until next year? Consolidate credit cards and student loans and save money now. Call 314-567-GOLD. NMLS 114937.
from you. Text us at 314-399-9646 on the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation text line on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Last night, Monday Night Football, it was the Vikings shocking the 49ers. The 49ers turning the ball over 3 times, including 2 fourth-quarter interceptions from the usually reliable Brock Purdy. Also last night, both LCSs in action, and one of them came to an end, and that was the ALCS, where the Rangers topped the Astros 11-4 to advance to their first World Series since 2011, while the Diamondbacks forced Game 7 in Philly tonight with a 5-1 win. Last night, again in Philly tonight, 7:07 first pitch for the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. And here on 101 ESPN, it's the Blues and the Jets. Pregame starts at 6:45. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Karraker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter returning for a second day is Dan. Dan, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing well. It'd be much better if I wasn't staring at Adolis Garcia raising his ALCS MVP trophy, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of Adolis Garcia, which starting pitcher did the Cardinals DFA Adolis Garcia to sign in December of 2019? Was it Daniel Ponce de Leon, Seth Eldridge, or KK Kim?
Let's go De Leon.
Tonight will be the first Game 7 for the Phillies franchise and the second for the Diamondbacks. Who did the D-backs beat in their first ever Game 7? Was it the Brewers, the Marlins, or the Yankees?
Marlins.
We talked about defensive scoring earlier in the show. Which defenseman holds the Blues' single-season record for scoring for the position with 78? Is it Jeff Brown, Al McInnes, or Rob Ramage?
McInnes.
A.J. Brown is the second ever player to put up 125-plus receiving yards in 5 straight games. Which other 21st century receiver was the first to do it? Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, or Calvin Johnson?
Calvin Johnson.
All right, we'll double check our score, and we will bring in Randy Karraker.
All right, Dan, how you feel?
Not as great as yesterday.
Well, you know, that tends to happen. Rock is a little sneaky with his questions on back-to-back days.
Yeah.
He makes it tough for...
Rock's so offended. He's so offended.
That's praise, brother. I'm giving you praise for your tough questions. Jeez. Now, if they're tough for Randy, then I'll give you double the praise. Randy, say hello to Dan again.
Dan, good morning. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. We do appreciate it.
All right, Randy, you ready?
Ready.
All right. Which starting pitcher did the Cardinals DFA Adolis Garcia to sign in December of 2019?
December of 2019, the starting pitcher that they would have signed.
You know what? No, go ahead.
No.
I was thinking.
Oh, okay. I know, but I don't know. So I'm just so that we can do it, so we don't have people texting in saying Randy needs a clock. I'll do the lifeline.
Daniel Ponce de Leon, Seth Eldridge, or KK Kim?
I think it was. Let's see. KK was. It would have been KK, yeah, because they already had Seth Eldridge. And Daniel Ponce de Leon, I believe, was already on the roster. So, KK. This is December 2019, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Tonight will be the first Game 7 for the Phillies franchise and the second for the Diamondbacks. Who did the D-backs beat in their first ever Game 7?
First ever Game 7 for the Diamondbacks. Let's see. They had the Yankees in 2001, 98, 99, 2000. They didn't go because the Cardinals got them in 2000. And we did not have a Game 7 against them because it was a 5-game series. And then in 2001, we lost them in the first round. I don't remember who they had in the 2001. I'm going to say that it was the Yankees in the 2001 World Series. Diamondbacks' first Game 7, I'm going to say, was 2001 World Series Game 7. Yeah, Yankees. I'll go with it.
We talked about defensive scoring earlier in the show. Which defenseman holds the Blues single-season record for the position with 78?
I will go with Al McInnes, please. The year he won the Norris Trophy.
A.J. Brown is the second ever player to put up 125-plus receiving yards in 5 straight games. Which other 21st century receiver was the first to do it?
You think that Torrey Holt would have, right? With all of those 1,300-yard seasons that he had, localized. Torrey, you would think that maybe, but maybe it was Jerry Rice. Maybe he had 5 consecutive 125-yard games. Let's see, Julio Jones. He had a lot of yards. I think he broke Torrey's record. But I'm going to go with Calvin Johnson.
I knew you knew the answer. Like, I knew. I'm sorry.
Apparently, he knew the answer for number 4, but did he know the answer for any of the other questions? Megamind here trying to stop Dan from a round 2 win as he tries to go for the Hall of Fame. Did Megamind do it? Or is Dan undefeated for the week with another win on Tuesday? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Karraker.
Just win, baby.
I'm sorry, Dan. Randy beat you today 3-1 in the fight.
Oh, okay. Appreciate it, guys.
No problem. Thank you so much for
Thanks
joining
for
the show. And thanks for playing. And which starting pitcher did the Cardinals DFA Adolis Garcia to sign in December 2019? It was, in fact, KK Kim, who went on for 2 solid seasons with the Cardinals. Adolis Garcia did nothing after that, so solid move overall.
Yeah.
Tonight will be what?
That worked out well.
He's already 30. It's not like he's got that much of his career left. Tonight will be the first Game 7 for the Phillies franchise, the second ever for the Diamondbacks. The first one, of course, was their Game 7 win over the Yankees in the 2001 World Series. We talked about defensive scoring earlier in the show. Jeff Brown with 78 points in 1992-93.
Brownie,
owns the Blues D-man single-season scoring record. And A.J. Brown is the second ever player to put up 125 receiving yards in 5 straight games. The other player to do it, even more just like perfect wide receiver out of a lab than A.J. Brown is, Calvin Johnson, the only other one to do it. I mean, can you build 2 better wide receivers than A.J. Brown and Calvin Johnson? I think it's like the perfect wide receiver.
They called it
Randy
a sad
Moss.
stat.
T.O.
Sad stat.
T.O.'s another one.
God,
God, just insane. So a 3-1 win for Randy Karraker in the fight. Again, thank you so much, Dan, for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dan. I remember asking Mike Martz, because Mike Martz always talked about how he liked a smaller mobile receiver over a big immobile receiver that couldn't get in and out of cuts. Guys like David Boston and T.O. T.O. was Randy Moss. They weren't great at getting out of cuts, and I asked him about that with Calvin Johnson. He said, well, my real preference is to have a guy like Calvin who's huge and can get in and out of cuts. He was something. This is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the NBA season starts tonight. It's Christmas for Matthew Rocchio. And Carey Davis. The Nuggets are the defending champions, but should they be the favorites? And who has a chance to dethrone Denver? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know what's going on with my friends at Hoffman Brothers because it's going to be cold next week. They're going to have a day. We're going to have a day next week where the high is going to be 48 degrees. And you need to make sure that your furnace is ready to go. So get in touch with Hoffman Brothers. Give them a call today at 314-664-3011, 314-664-3011, or go to HoffmanBros.com and set up your appointment to get your furnace looked at. They come out to our home every year to check the furnace, make sure that everything's good to go, make sure that, especially if you have an older furnace, that it's going to make it through the winter. It's an important thing to know. And you should also join their club because if you have that personal protection plan, you can make sure that they'll come out every year and look at both your furnace in the fall and your air conditioner in the spring. It really does make a difference when you have Hoffman Brothers out every single year to get that heating system checked. So do what I do. Use Hoffman Brothers, 314-664-3011, or go to HoffmanBros.com to set up that furnace repair or at least maintenance right now. NBA season starts tonight, and the best thing about that is that TNT's pre- and post-game show is back.
The best show
I do love
That's the
that.
best show on TV.
Hands down.
It's great. Tonight they've got Lakers Nuggets at 6:30 and then Suns Warriors. So a couple of really interesting games. We're heading down the stretch. You've got to savor LeBron James when you get an opportunity to see him. But we're in the same boat, really, with Steph Curry, and you never know how long Klay Thompson is going to last, and Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah.
KD, you never know. Every time he steps on the floor, it could be the last time he steps on the floor. So if you're an NBA fan, these are two games to start the season watching.
Oh yeah, you have to be excited about. I mean, I'm excited about the NBA season. It is, it's fun, it's fantastic, it's fast paced. You get to see some of the best athletes in the world compete against each other, and you know, seeing the Lakers go up against the Nuggets, I think is going to be a great matchup because Denver. For as much as you see the thrills of all of the other teams, Denver just is steady pounding the pavement, just going forward about their business. There's nothing overly athletic about Jokic. He just kills. Like he's a man amongst men, and it's fun to watch him because he's going to get 25, 28 points and 12 rebounds in his sleep. And so, you know, it's tough to stop him. The Nuggets are a really good basketball team with Jamal Murray. And then you get the Warriors versus the Suns. That, to me, is you know, see what this Suns team looks like with those three, Booker, Durant, and Beal. It's going to be intriguing to see how they all mesh together. And to see Chris Paul, I guess he's in the starting lineup for the Warriors, which I didn't expect. I thought he would be coming off the bench, but I guess he's going to be starting with them. So now you're going to have Steph off of the ball often, and Chris Paul is going to be facilitating. I think that team is going to be changed as well.
I wonder if it's interesting for Chris Paul to facilitate from 30 feet.
He's going to be. I mean, he's going to have a lot of assists. Probably the most assists he's ever had in his career.
It seems to me like the two most interesting teams. You mentioned the Nuggets there, but also with the addition of Damian Lillard and then everything with Giannis, the Bucks to me look like they could be really the team to beat this season.
In the East, I definitely think. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. Who is going to challenge them? I don't think the Miami Heat have enough. Because Bam Adebayo literally, it feels like he's literally disappearing some playoffs. Like you see him out there, but he's not there.
You call him celery, remember?
He's just an addition. He's there, but do you really want to eat it? No, I mean, it's hard to watch him at times in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler's going to give you everything he's got. But you talked about the Boston Celtics. I don't know that Kristaps Porzingis, the addition of him maybe 5 years ago, we would have been jumping through the roof. But now I don't know how much more he brings to this team.
But they also made a big move to bring in Holiday.
That's the move, right? Yeah. Bringing in Drew Holiday, I think, definitely adds depth to their team and a guy that can make some big shots when needed.
Well, the Bucks are going to be playing the 76ers on Thursday, and the big story around the Sixers right now is James Harden. Where is James Harden? We're talking about celery, and we're talking about Bam being missing. What about James Harden and everything that's going on with him? Woj reacted to how the Sixers can kind of handle this situation, if they can do anything to kind of poke and prod James Harden to get back.
Malika, no, it is unclear whether James Harden, when and if James Harden plans to return to Philadelphia. Now, the organization has taken him at his word that he's away on a personal matter, that there is something that he has to attend to. They are certainly within their rights to start fining James Harden as much as $390,000 a game for each missed game. Wow. And that comes out of his, $35.6 million salary this season. So certainly the Sixers want James Harden in the lineup. They want him to play. He has wanted a trade. He continues to want a trade. Talks with the Clippers have not progressed. There's not been any traction or anything close on a possible deal. But at this point, Malika, the Sixers are taking James Harden at his word that he has and giving him the ability to have an excused absence. But how much longer they do that remains to be seen.
So I'm just trying to understand the plan here, because I know that he has issues with the Sixers president, Daryl Morey, and we saw all that play out, especially this summer, where he was very vocal about how he felt like he was a liar. But if he is also not, according to reports too, he's not athletically ready, what is the game plan here for James Harden? What is the best case scenario for everybody in this situation?
Well, first, Brooke, you asked where he is, and I think that's evident. He's at the club.
Oh, no question. What time is it?
But here's the thing.
8:52. Not yet. Well, he's
getting ready for the buffet, the lunch buffet.
Right, just left.
He was more than happy to sign a contract with Houston and was a jerk and forced his way out of there. He was more than happy to join up in Brooklyn, and he was a jerk and forced his way out of there and blew up that big three. And then he went to Philadelphia, said he was happy and is a jerk and is trying to force his way out of there. There's no way that I would want this guy. And he led the league in assists. He's a great player. I would not want that guy on my team because he's not reliable. And I'm shocked that teams would give up a lot to get James Harden. The most valuable that he would be to somebody is to Philadelphia, because if he's there and engaged and in shape, he and Embiid together, that's one team that could challenge the Milwaukee Bucks. But he's not going to be there. You just can't count on him. He's right now the least reliable superstar in the NBA.
I'm looking at when I think about the 76ers, I mean, you had the whole Ben Simmons ordeal a couple of years ago. Now you got James Harden. You had the trust the process ordeal where they were drafting Markelle Fultz and all of the guys, Okafor. They just drafted a bunch of guys that didn't pan out. We talk about organizations that are some of the worst organizations in sports. In the last 10 to 15 years, do you put the 76ers in that on that list because obviously Joel Embiid has won an MVP. He's done a fantastic job, but he's essentially the only one. You talk about all of the other failures that they've had, whether it be drafting or bringing players in that they can't keep in-house. That's not a great organization, and they haven't won a championship. They told us to trust the process, and the process has been long gone.
Yeah, the process did not work,
No.
and that made them one of the worst organizations. They did use enough of their assets so that they got to a conference finals, but that's not enough.
That's won conference finals in this, I guess, 10 to 15. I won almost maybe 20 years.
And had a top 5 pick probably 8 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's not great.
I would rate them as one of the worst organizations, absolutely. Now, let me give you a couple of sleepers, and one of them is if they don't get Harden. And by the way, could you imagine if James Harden and Russell Westbrook were back on the same team together?
That would be.
Wouldn't that be entertaining?
Fun.
With George and Kawhi?
Good, clean
now,
fun.
What about a team like Atlanta that has a really good coach now? I don't know if you noticed, but former Mizzou coach Quinn Snyder is in Atlanta, and he's a really good NBA coach. Did a great job with Utah. And they've got Trae Young and DeJounte Murray in the backcourt. They need some help up front. They have Hunter and Sadiq Bey and Clint Capella, who might be past his prime on the front court. But they might be able to get enough out of that backcourt offensively so that Quinn can develop some connectivity among his players and build enough defense so that they can compete. They should at least be in the hunt for their division.
I mean, you're looking at them and saying, how much do you expect, though? What can you expect? You said Clint Capella. What more does he have left in the tank?
That's my thing. Is I think that they can surprise people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're a championship contender, but I do think that they're one of the teams that you say, okay, the odds are against them, but could they win a division? I think absolutely they could.
Yeah, it's possible, right? But there are so many other better teams suited to win as opposed to them.
The only other team in their division is Miami, by the way. I mean, it's Washington, it's Orlando, it's Charlotte. So winning that division isn't saying much, but I do think that that's a team that can ascend. Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. Trae Young has to. He is I don't know where he is in terms of superstardom. I don't know if he's a star. I don't know if he's a superstar. I don't know if he's on the cusp of being a superstar. I don't think he's there yet.
But what about Murray?
I thought that they would work better together than it didn't. You assumed with him coming over from San Antonio that this would be a match made in heaven and it would work out and that team would ascend. But I think they weren't as good last year as they were the year before. So you're looking at, again, it's on Trae Young. Is he a superstar or is he just a star in this league? Because there is a huge difference between guys. When you're a superstar, that's the level is completely different. I think Jason Tatum is on that same level as well. Is he a superstar? He's definitely a star. But when you're a superstar, you don't shrink or minimize yourself come playoff time.
And here's the question. Can Quinn Snyder maximize Trae Young? And he's a guy that maximized players that weren't superstars in Utah. Can he maximize a superstar?
I think those guys were different, though.
Yeah.
Like Mike Conley and those guys, that was a different group, a different crew. Like those were blue-collar, hard-head guys, and they're going to show up and work their tails off and worked as a unit. I don't think they had guys that were on the cusp of being superstars. Donovan Edwards is it
Mitchell,
Donovan Mitchell, excuse me, is on that level, but he's on the same thing. Is he a superstar? Is he a star? I think Trae Young has the potential to be a superstar, and they got to get it out of him.
Every year, the Missouri Athletic Club honors the College Player of the Year, and a few years ago, we were broadcasting in the fast lane over there, and Trae Young walks in with a giant Emo's pizza, XXL pizza, and so he said Tatum turned him on to it. He said, I had to go get an Emo's, and he took it up to his room, and he told us later in an interview that he finished it. So I've been a Trae Young fan ever since because he's an Emo's guy.
We need a St. Louis team.
Yeah. Just
bring the Hawks back.
Yeah, just real quick, we were talking about the Hawks, but I want to ask you guys, too, what do you guys think about the Phoenix Suns going into this season?
That's what I said. I think it'll be intriguing to see how Beal, Durant, and Booker all mesh. Anytime you have three elite scorers one of those guys are going to have to take a step back and take a seat, score less points. They're going to go from scoring 25 to 27 points a game to probably under 20.
It's not going to be Booker or Durant.
It ain't going to be either one of them. I can guarantee you that. Ask Chris Bosh how that turned out for him. Like, you're going to take a step back in scoring. Ask Klay Thompson when KD got there. It happens. It's a part of the game. And so is Bradley Beal going to accept that role and be okay with not being a leading scorer every single night? Because it's going to be KD and it's going to be Devin Booker. And, you may lead the team in scoring 10, 15 times in a year, but you're going to win more games than he's won his entire career. So you have to take that into consideration as well.
Next on the depth chart, by the way, behind Bradley Beal in Phoenix is Jordan Goodwin of Belleville-Althoff and St. Louis University. They made a good trade, I think, in moving Ayton for some depth, getting a guy like Grayson Allen, getting Jop, getting Watanabe. They've added to their depth, which they were desperate to have. So they'll be an interesting team. My concern, Brooke, for them is, can they keep Kevin Durant healthy? Because I don't think if they don't keep Durant healthy, I don't think they can win.
I agree. And him staying healthy is one of the key components to them having success. But you got other guys that can score. They are that team is going to be a little bit different, though. DeAndre Ayton not there. They lose. As much as they may have not liked what DeAndre Ayton, he was inside blocking shots or altering shots. He did a really good job rebounding. You wanted him to score more and be more of a presence down low, but not having him there, I think that's going to change their team a little bit as well, and I don't think people have taken that into consideration.
Yeah, Nurkic isn't what he was before the injury, and he's their center right now. 7 foot 290, but he moves like me, so that's not a great thing. Not a great thing. NBA tonight on TNT. Next up, our rush hour reset on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
recapping the biggest sports stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
It's 9:04 in St. Louis. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Carey Davis, Randy Karraker, great to have you with us. And the Blues are in Winnipeg tonight. We have the pregame for you at 6:45, and the action comes your way at 7:45 for the Blues and the Jets. Then tonight, you've also got, as we mentioned in our last segment, the start of the NBA season, and you have a Game 7 in Major League Baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks visiting the Philadelphia Phillies for Game 7. It starts at 7:07 on TBS. Brandon Pfaadt for Arizona against Ranher Suarez. Ranher Suarez of Philadelphia.
Suarez.
And this game is being played because yesterday a former Cardinal put Arizona on top for good.
And Pham sends one deep into left field, and that one's going to fly. Tommy Pham, welcome back to the lineup. Running around those bases with some anger.
You got to remember, I've been stabbed.
So many former Cardinals. I didn't know where you were going with that audio.
Oh, we'll have more. We'll have more.
It could have gone so many different ways.
So many plays. It could have went.
I feel like a lot of these organizations need to send thank you cards every year that they moved or, traded one of these players, because I feel like you should. I know that there were some things that happened that you got out
Cardinals
of it.
should send a card.
Yeah,
why a card, though? I mean, this is a big money industry. Why not do edible arrangements or something?
To the front office? Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Adolis Garcia, he should send something to the front office of the Cardinals. I greatly appreciate you.
Yeah. 5-1, Arizona beats Philadelphia yesterday to force Game 7. And, as has been mentioned, Adolis Garcia was pretty good for the Rangers in this playoff series.
Garcia starts the third and drives one the other way down the line. If it's fair, he's got another. He does. Adolis Garcia owning October.
Tom, take it away.
Here's the fly ball. Hold on 1 second. Back goes Brantley to the wall, and Adolis Garcia has hit another home run. Impossible. His fifth in the last 4 games. He owns Houston.
Adolis Garcia setting a record for RBIs in a postseason series with 15. He's homered in 4 consecutive games. Oh, by the way, he was a Cardinal, and the Cardinals decided to move on from him
after 21 games.
2019. And so congratulations to both Tommy Pham, who's playing Game 7 tonight, and Mundo Sosa, Game 7 tonight for Philadelphia. And, of course, Adolis Garcia, Jordan Montgomery, and Chris Stratton of the Rangers, who are on their way to the World Series.
I was going to say, we saw Jordan Montgomery yesterday coming into the game, and it's painful, guys. There's no other way to say it. I said that you have them send thank you cards. Of course, I want everybody to go and be happy, but when you see them just right in your face like this, especially the whole Garcia situation, it feels very much kind of like Randy Rosarino, where they weren't given much of an opportunity here, and then they go elsewhere. And I know that they were also, that Garcia specifically was DFA'd by the Rangers. All the other teams had a chance to get him, and they didn't. But the fact that the Rangers were able to get this out of Garcia, it just makes it even more painful to see that play out in that way.
I think if you are, if you're Jordan Montgomery or Chris Stratton, you do send something, because you go from worst to first, right? You are a guy that was on a team that was just stinking it up all season long, and now you get traded to a team that has an opportunity to win a World Series. You have to be thrilled by that. So, I mean, it's exciting. I had a teammate who played on the 0-16 Detroit Lions. And the following year, he was on the 12-4 Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers. You know how thrilling that has to be?
Oh, man.
The highs and lows you come from. Sean McHugh. He's a fullback, tight end H-back kind of guy. And so he went from the 0-16 Detroit Lions in 2007 to the Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008. And you have the highs and lows associated with your career from going, that's in 1 year. Now imagine these two guys going in one season from a team that was 20 games under 500 to now playing in the World Series. I mean, come on.
That's pretty cool.
Does life get much better than that?
No.
Yeah,
No.
What are we talking? What are we complaining about? I wouldn't be complaining.
No.
Monday Night Football, Kirk Cousins 35 of 45, a couple of touchdowns and an interception.
You like that? You like that?
Vikings over the Niners 22-17. The Niners have lost 2 in a row now.
Yeah. That's a little concerning.
That's a little worried.
Yeah.
A little concerning.
Oh, and by the way, Brock Purdy threw a couple of bad interceptions. He had a touchdown pass, 21 of 30, with a couple of picks. They played without Deebo Samuel and a clearly limited Christian McCaffrey. He was only 15 of 45, did have the touchdown, and caught 3 for 51, but wasn't the normal Christian McCaffrey that we've come to love and know.
Well, I think he was he fumbled the ball early, which was a little bit disappointing. But they were able to have a chance. They missed a field goal, another field goal, and had an opportunity to put points on the board. Just didn't get it done. The more concerning part, I'm not worried about Christian McCaffrey. Deebo Samuel had a shoulder injury. I'm not worried about that. He'll be back in due time. The more concerning part is the 2 interceptions that Brock Purdy threw to the safety over the middle, where it looked like he did not know. The receiver was about 5 yards away. He threw it to the right. The receiver was still a couple of yards, 5 yards away or so from crossing over and being able to even compete for that catch. That, to me, was the concerning part. Like, I want to know that my quarterback knows where the ball is being thrown to. I think the receiver was open had he decided to put it on him instead of leading him. But those 2 interceptions late in that fourth quarter were concerning for me because those are really bad throws from a quarterback who hasn't had many of those so far in his career.
Were you surprised by the 49ers' defensive performance in that game?
I was surprised. Well, I mean, when you don't have Justin Jefferson,
452 yards.
When Justin Jefferson isn't in the lineup, you would assume that the opposing team is not going to have as much success. Jordan Addison showed up and showed out last night.
Yes.
He took a ball away from Ward. Ward took one away from him earlier, which gave him an interception. He took one away from Ward later in that second quarter, right before halftime, to score a touchdown. They played well.
And Cam Bynum, that was
Powell. Yeah. I mean, all of those guys were making plays downfield, which was exciting for the Vikings. And they've been winning. They're 3-5 now. They're a team that is not as bad as they have played all season.
And the next NFL week gets underway on Thursday with the Bucs at the Bills. There's your Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, our friend Xavier Scruggs joining us here to talk postseason baseball, the World Series bound Rangers, and Garcia and the rest of the gang that the Cardinals used to have. Next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're going to have a World Series party, I want you to start it at Schnucks. You can put together a great vegetable stir-fry, walk into Schnucks, and you'll see all of the glorious fruits and vegetables there. Maybe you put together your own homemade fruit tray. But the big thing for a party is to go to the best bakery in town, whether they have the cookie cakes that are decorated for sporting events, and they'll decorate it for you if you want, or you want some of their delicious cookies or cupcakes or cakes. Schnucks is the place to go. And then you walk a little bit further in that butcher shop. You want to get some big old ribeyes and put them on the grill. Make one for you that's medium rare and another that's medium. They are absolutely delicious. And everything you need is at Schnucks, and you can find it by Simply downloading the Schnucks Rewards app. What I like to do is put my grocery list in the app, and then it knows what store I'm at, the app does, and it guides me from aisle to aisle so that I can have a really efficient shopping experience. There's nothing better than shopping at Schnucks and getting everything you need with the highest of quality and the highest of efficiency. And then you get 2% back on rewards with the Schnucks Rewards app. Download the app next time you head to Schnucks.
And Pham sends one deep into left field, and that one's gonna fly. Tommy Pham, welcome back to the lineup. Running around those bases with some anger.
Tommy Pham with a home run to set the tone yesterday as the Diamondbacks force Game 7 against Philadelphia. That game will be played tonight with Brooke Grimsley and Super Bowl champ Carey Davis. I'm Randy Karraker, and joining us now from MLB Network and ESPN and Sirius XM MLB Radio, a busy guy and a former teammate of Tommy Pham, Xavier Scruggs, a friend of in life and a friend on the show. Joining us, Xavier, it's always good to hear your voice. How you doing, sir?
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you guys over there?
We're good, except we're kind of jealous because we see Tommy Pham and we see Adolis Garcia and we see Jordan Montgomery and we see Chris Stratton. We're seeing all these former Cardinals in the postseason, man.
I know, man. It's not right. It's almost like when you see the success that some of these guys have had. I think it was, I'm trying to remember who posted a picture on Twitter showing Randy Arozarena 2020 ALCS MVP right next to Adolis Garcia 2023 ALCS MVP in Cardinals colors. That doesn't make any sense.
It's painful to see. Well, as Randy was just talking about, we're going to get a Game 7 with the Phillies and the D-backs. Are you surprised? And because it feels like a lot of people are surprised about the Diamondbacks that they were able to force a Game 7. And what do you think the outcome, if you just had to predict the outcome of tonight, will be?
Well, first, I'll answer your first question. I'm extremely surprised because I look at after Game 2 of the series when Phillies beat down the D-backs 10-0. If you told me that there was going to be a Game 7, I'd be laughing at you just because of the momentum that the Phillies had already had. But going into this Game 7 tonight, I think, all hands on deck. I'm excited to see what happens because Brandon Pfaadt has been really good the last time out against the Phillies. Same thing on the other side. Ranger Suarez has been great all postseason long. I think we're down for a dog fight. The one thing that I think we'll see is the stars step up. And it depends on which ones do, right? Is it going to be Corbin Carroll on the D-back side? Is it going to be Bryce Harper, Schwarber on the Philly side? Depending upon which team stars step up and depending upon which team doesn't beat themselves up with defensive miscues and letting guys on base via the walk, that's ultimately who's going to have success tonight.
Yeah, the NLCS obviously was a shocker and surprised that there is a Game 7. Were you shocked at all at how the ALCS ended? An 11-4 win for the Rangers, coming back to Houston and winning those two games in the fashion in which they did.
I wasn't as surprised at the way they won the games. I was more surprised that you really didn't see the Houston Astros win at home at all. Yeah. Like the fact that this team has been so great over the past 7-8 years and what they've done to get to the ALCS 7 straight times, like that to me didn't really make much sense. But at the same time, that's what's beautiful about our game. It's like you can't predict those types of things happening. And ultimately, you look at Adolis Garcia and what he was able to do, basically putting the team on his back, 5 home runs, two last night. Another move that stuck out to me was you knew Max Scherzer probably wasn't going to go very long, but then Bruce Bochy bringing out Montgomery to help bridge that gap to the guys in high leverage. I thought that was an excellent calculated move from him that ultimately gave them a chance to slow down the momentum for the Astros after they had scored a couple runs early in the game, too.
Xavier Scruggs with us on 101 ESPN. And, Xavier, I want you to, for tonight's game, you mentioned stars are going to show up, but I want you to give me an X Factor. And the X Factor can even be Kyle Schwarber or a Carroll, but or a Tommy Pham. You played with Tommy Pham in the minors. He's one of those guys who seems to be a bright lights guy. The obvious guy for all of us, I think, would be Bryce Harper. But give me an X Factor for tonight.
Well, for the D-backs, I was going to give you Tommy Pham because what we saw yesterday is the prime example of what I played with. And I got the opportunity. I knew Tommy Pham from even before we were both drafted. I went to UNLV, Las Vegas. He's from Las Vegas out of high school. One thing that's always stuck out about him to me is that he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. And when somebody gives him an extra chip, like Lovello gave him in this series by sitting him, he comes out with a different type of energy. And I think that's what we saw yesterday in the second inning when he went left field bridge with 2 strikes. So I think he will have an effect on this game, whether it be positive or negative. And he's a guy that they'll be looking to do some damage in the middle of the order. On the other side, I look at Castellanos, who's actually struggled a little bit in this series. I think he's going to have opportunities with guys on base. It's easy to point to Schwarber and Harper because we expect them to do the big things, even Trey Turner. But I think a guy that if they get production from tonight and he comes out like he did the other series, I think you're looking at them having a lot of success offensively for creating some runs tonight.
We've talked a lot about this offseason as we wait to see what moves the Cardinals will make. And you're looking at the teams that are left now. Is there something that you think that the Cardinals can take away from each one of these teams, or maybe a model the Cardinals could follow this offseason? Because they're saying they want a quick turnaround. They don't want to do a few years kind of rebuild here. They want to turn things around quickly for next season. Is there something they can learn from one of these teams that are left standing?
You already know what it is. It's pitching, pitching, pitching. Like, that's what we looked at what the Rangers did this offseason, went out and got some dudes. But not only that, then at the trade deadline, they went and got the Cardinals. They got a Cardinals dude, and multiple guys, and Max Scherzer. So that's what it equates to when and everybody can see it, when you have depth in starting pitching, it changes the whole outlook of your roster. It allows guys confidence on the offensive side. The same thing from a bullpen standpoint. Think about the bullpens that we've seen from the Rangers. But what did we talk about? How horrible this bullpen was going into the postseason. What have their starters done? They've gone deep. Montgomery went deep. Evaldi went deep every single time they went out. That's the difference. The Cardinals have to go out and get some dudes, whether that be via free agency or via trade. They've got to find a way to get some starting pitching depth.
Xavier, I don't know if you heard this, but there has been talks that Yadier Molina will be potentially returning to the Cardinals in a coach's role. What are your thoughts about what he adds to the Cardinals if he were to come back?
Whatever he adds is really indescribable. The reason why I say that is because having played with him for a little bit of time, I understand it's another manager that's out there that has eyes on the field. And you think about all that he's been through, the ups and downs, all the success that he's had. He knows the organization in and out. he's like a field general. And to have that alongside with it, if that's the case, alongside of Ollie Marmol, that's only going to prove huge dividends. And I think the one thing about Yachty is he's never the moment has never been too big for him. And I think that's what we're seeing from guys like Bruce Bochy, guys like Dusty Baker, that really have that type of mentality that we're not going to let the team get too high or too low. Emotions aren't going to get out of control. Everything is going to be focused on one day at a time, and we're going to get the job done. That's what you'll get from Yachty.
The great Xavier Scruggs with us on 101 ESPN. And Xavier, I'm glad you brought that up because along those lines, one of the things that we haven't seen from the likes of Bochy or Dusty or Rob Thompson is getting worried about a starting pitcher. Rather than leaning on the numbers and being owned by the numbers, those guys are using the eye test, and whether it's leaving Eovaldi in with the bases loaded and nobody out or giving people like Wheeler and Nola a chance to give innings. Is it a coincidence that these really experienced managers are managing in the Final Four?
Randy, you so right, man. There has to be a blend of the analytics and somebody that has a feel for the game. And we keep seeing it time and time again. There's a reason why these guys, they've been through it all. Like, they've seen it all. So they understand when somebody's truly on the ropes or when somebody's truly having success out there because they're watching the nuances of the game and not so worried about what the numbers actually have to say. They take the numbers before the game starts, and they'll say, okay, I'm going to watch what happens and then apply the numbers to it. I'm not going to apply what I watch to the numbers. And I think that's one of the biggest differences. What you see, there has to be a blend. I think you're starting to see it even Chris Young taking over this team in the Rangers, who he's a very smart guy himself, but he's known to been not let the analytics overtake the game. And I think he's went out there trying to prove that there's a way to blend it, and we've seen it with the Rangers so far in this postseason.
Hey, Xavier, I got one more thing for you. And we talk a lot here about, obviously, because we talk about the Cardinal way and the fundamentals that the Cardinals historically have employed. And their defense was in the bottom third this year. And you played for a couple of organizations, but you've seen countless organizations try to coach and teach fundamentals. Does it matter the way you coach and teach fundamentals? Can a coaching staff make a team fundamentally better?
I think so, and obviously everybody's going to have their own opinion, but I think honestly, I look at what Bobby Dickerson's doing over with the Phillies. That's a guy, an infield coach that has changed the outlook of the infield itself. He taught Harper how to play first base fundamentally over there. He taught Alec Boehm, who's now turned himself into a better defensive player at third base. The same thing with Bryson Stott, who was playing shortstop and then moved over to second. There's something about doing the little things. And when I look at the Cardinals this year, I think you can look to their focus wasn't quite there defensively because the start that they got off to was so panicky. And you could feel that it was like the pressure was building on them. And the details, that they lost sense of the details of the game, which ultimately give you the day by day, allowing yourself to stack up little wins. I think they were so worried about trying to catch up a week at a time. No, you have to focus on the details of the game. I think that's what, Tony La Russa was so great about. I look at even Mike Schilt, like those names stick out to me. And I think those things are something that Ollie Marmol is going to have to reevaluate and figure out how to prioritize going into 2024.
Xavier Scruggs is a great follow on Twitter. How about them naming Twitter after you now?
It was only right, Randy. It was only right.
Exactly. Follow Xavier at Xavier_Scruggs. I already heard you on my drive in on MLB Network Radio. What other media you have going on today, or do we just follow you on X?
No, just that'll be pretty much it. I'll be posting videos, kind of reactions of the game and all that stuff. And, it's what I love to do. I love listening to you guys, so keep up the good work as well.
Love your passion and love you. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time today. We'll talk to you soon.
No problem at all.
All right, see you, Xavier. Xavier Scruggs with us on 101 ESPN. Man, he's got passion for that sport.
He does. He does. And he's very knowledgeable about what's going on.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Coming up, you just heard Xavier talk about it. What do the Cardinals need to do to be more like the Rangers or the Diamondbacks or the Phillies? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, how you feeling this morning? You know what, guys? If you're feeling fatigued and you're beyond the age of 30, I might have the answer as to why you're feeling fatigued, and I might have an answer to cure that problem. What happens when you pass your 30th birthday is that your testosterone level decreases. It goes down, and testosterone is what keeps you energized. If you feel anxious and you've got low energy and low motivation, those could easily be a problem with low T, and that's why Mentality exists in Chesterfield and South County at lowtusa.com. At Mentality, they have an FDA-approved testosterone treatment that's going to restore the testosterone in your body to where it was when you were in your 20s. Their board-certified physicians are going to do a complete panel on your blood work to find out where your testosterone level is and where all the other chemicals in your body are, and then they're going to get you back to being the way you want to be so that you have the energy, that you have the motivation, so that you aren't as anxious and impatient as you've been. And they're going to work with your insurance company to make sure that the out-of-pocket expenses are super low. It's Mentality. Get started now at lowtusa.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. On 101 ESPN tonight, starting at 6:45 with the pregame show, the Blues face off against the Winnipeg Jets as they start their road trip. If you want to hear more Blues talk, you can go to the Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's podcast and hear Carey, Brooke, and Randy talking on over with the TV voice of the Blues, John Kelly. And last night in the LCSs, the Diamondbacks over the Phillies, shocking everyone to push that one to a Game 7. That game tonight in Philadelphia, 7:07 first pitch. And the Rangers punched their ticket to the World Series for the first time since 2011 with an 11-4 victory over the Houston Astros. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
There has to be a blend of the analytics and somebody that has a feel for the game. And we keep seeing it time and time again. There's a reason why these guys, they've been through it all. Like, they've seen it all. So they understand when somebody's truly on the ropes or when somebody's truly having success out there, because they're watching the nuances of the game and not so worried about what the numbers actually have to say. They take the numbers before the game starts, and they'll say, okay, I'm going to watch what happens and then apply the numbers to it. I'm not going to apply what I watch to the numbers. And I think that's one of the biggest differences.
That is former Cardinal Xavier Scruggs of MLB Network and of ESPN. And I think he said it well. Yeah. Apply what I watch to the numbers rather than applying the numbers to, or apply the numbers to what I watch rather than applying what I watch to the numbers.
Yeah, I think that's what analytics are for. It's to watch the game and then, use those numbers to give you the answers to whatever questions may be presented, not the other way around. And I think people have gone in the other direction in terms of analytics. We're just going to use these numbers regardless of what's going on in the game because these are the numbers. No, there are certain situations that arise in a game, and you have to play that game in the manner in which it's supposed to be played. Now, you use the numbers to give you a close enough answer to how to give you the solution, but I think oftentimes, as I said, when you make a decision at 2 p.m. and the game isn't until 7 p.m., things change around 8:30 from what you decided at 2 o'clock. And so you have to be able to change as well. You have to be able to adapt. And I think if the Cardinals are going to have success in 2024, you have to be able to adapt in game based on what you're seeing, not solely based on what the numbers tell you.
Bruce Bochy watched what was happening with Nathan Eovaldi in the 5th inning of Game 2, I believe it was. and he left Eovaldi in there with the bases loaded, nobody out. He saw Max Scherzer get into trouble last night in the fourth inning, and he didn't leave Max Scherzer in there because his eyes told him what was happening. And I think that's the biggest thing about these managers is their experience and their eyes inform them more than the numbers do.
Yeah.
Even in Game 6, that whole situation with Leclerc, I mean, there's been so many situations this season. One, even with what has happened with the Rangers bullpen going into the postseason was not great. We knew that that was going to be a low point, but the way that Bruce Bochy has really kind of maneuvered this like chess, essentially, I think speaks highly to having that feel, having that gut, knowing which guys to trust in certain situations. And I think that that really threw off the Astros in a lot of ways. I think there was times the Astros thought that he was going to make one move, and then he didn't do that.
Yeah.
He didn't fold. He didn't give in. He didn't bring out maybe the guy that they were expecting to come in. And I think that speaks a lot to Bruce Bochy, the trust he has, and Chris Young for bringing him in. Just watching that ceremony last night, Chris Young was so complimentary of Bruce Bochy and bringing him in, obviously out of retirement, had to go and talk to him in Nashville, Tennessee to convince him of it, but it was all for this moment. And if you're the Cardinals and you say that you want to win next season, that you want to have a quick turnaround, this is not going to be something that you're building in a few years, then you have to make aggressive moves like that. If you look at their spending and how they did that, I think the Cardinals are willing to spend money, but it's spending money in the correct way. And that's exactly what the Rangers did in a lot of these situations. Nathan Eovaldi, to me, is a steal. That was somebody that I wish the Cardinals would have looked at. 2 years, $34 million, and that is paying off. Maddox, what he's been able to do with that pitching staff. I was reading an article that The Athletic has, if you can look it up. It's great about how they talk about what Maddox has done this season with the starting rotation and with the pitching staff in general, and how he also works in conjunction with Bruce Bochy, where it's just more of a feel thing. They just let guys be who they need to be. They're not throwing a bunch of numbers and situations at him. He's just had so much experience that it pays off in those moments where sometimes when he goes out to the mound, he's just making a joke. Sometimes he's not even telling them anything. He just knows what they need in that specific moment.
2 years ago, the Diamondbacks lost 110 games, and the Rangers lost 102. So things can turn around in a hurry. And as Mo says, the task isn't overly daunting in the Cardinals' opinion. I look at what Texas has done and what Arizona has done, and I think for the Cardinals it would be more daunting than for those two teams, because I don't believe the Cardinals are going to go spend $325 million on a shortstop and a couple $100 million on another middle infielder, and then $100 and whatever on a guy like Jacob deGrom, and then $34 million on Nathan Eovaldi, and then go out and make a trade for people like Max Scherzer. I just don't see the Cardinals being in those waters. And as far as the Diamondbacks are concerned, the Cardinals have already brought up their kids. The Diamondbacks have a bunch of kids. The Cardinals' kids are already on hand. And so what the Cardinals need to do is hope for maximizing their young talent, specifically their young pitching.
I think they have the pieces there. Again, you need to go out and get that ace. Whether it's via trade or free agency, you're going to have to open up your wallet and spend some money, maybe more than you were willing to spend. And if you have to spend it in free agency, you have to do that. You have to go out and do that. And then maybe you go and get another one in via trade, because you need two guys at least that have had success in the major leagues, have done a good job so far in their careers, and you have to go out and get two of those guys. And then, I gotta keep saying it, just allow your younger guys, some of them, to be a part of this bullpen. Learn how to be professionals. Learn how to be placed in high leverage moments and get out of that inning. Get you a 2/3 of an inning and get those two guys out. Learn how to go about that, and then work your way up to becoming a starter. And then having competition on the back end of that rotation during spring training, figuring out which five are going to be the five. And that's the best way, for me, in my opinion, to build that starting rotation, build up that bullpen. You got enough guys that can hit, that can play every single day. Having those guys in the same position every single day, that's the recipe for success for 2024.
I agree. You have to figure out those roles, establish them pretty quickly, and pitching. That's exactly what X said. You have to address the pitching, and it seems like they say that. Now, whether it'll be 2 starters or 3 starters, either way, you have to go out and find an ace. I really do think that the Cardinals were hoping that Jack Flaherty was going to be that ace going into this season, and that's the thing. You can't have question marks. Of course, things are going to happen. Injuries are inevitable. And, I mean, look at the Rangers, everything that happened with them, with DeGrom. But you still have to just plan for every single scenario and have that depth, have that availability, and showing that you're going out and being aggressive and getting that.
That's Brooke. That's Carey. I'm Randy. Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with Rock and Roll here on 101 ESPN.
10,000 mile per year lease. 2.9% APR financing for 48 months is $2,209 per 1,000 financed. Must finance with Kia Finance America, plus tax, title, and license. Ends 10/31/23. A brand new state-of-the-art facility. Over 150 new Kias available. Even bigger fall savings. Come see why more people are choosing the all-new Offenburg Kia in Shiloh, Illinois. Save with over $7,400 Kia customer cash rebate on new Kia EV6s. With no down payment, you can lease a new 2023 Kia Telluride EX all-wheel drive for only $457 a month for 31 months with zero security deposit and $34.51 due at signing. Or get low 2.9% APR financing for 48 months on fuel-efficient new Kia Fortes. Come see why more people are choosing Offenburg Kia in Shiloh. Offenburg Kia, off I-64 at exit 16 at the new Offenburg Auto Mall in Shiloh, Illinois, or offenburgkia.com.
Berg is the word.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. Are you a part of the St. Louis community? Do you believe in building a better, more prosperous future for your city? If you said yes to both of those questions, then I have an answer for you, and it's Metro Transit. The Metro isn't just a way to get from point A to point B. It's the engine that drives progress in our region. Whether you're in Richmond Heights, Fairview Heights, or Maryland Heights, the Metro is here for you. It supports local businesses, reduces traffic congestion, and helps attract more jobs to the area while also helping people get to their jobs. Even if you haven't given Metro a try yet, it's something that I can promise you other places wish they had available. There's many benefits even if you don't ride. A healthy and vibrant public transportation system helps attract businesses, including Fortune 500 companies, to come here and create a significant amount of jobs in the region. So don't let the old ideas hold you back. Try Metro Transit today. Let's ride together towards a brighter future for St. Louis. Thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
With the Sonic 2 for $7 deal, you now get to choose from the foot-long chili cheese coney, Sonic cheeseburger, or chicken sandwich. Any 2 items, any combination for a limited time only at Sonic.
gonna rock. End roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Metallica. They're going to be here in St. Louis next Sunday night at the Dome, November 5th. So if you want to get tickets for the Metallica, you can get them right now.
The Metallica?
Is it the Metallica? Is it like the Facebook?
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to have like 2 awesome concerts at the Dome. They're playing a huge no-repeat weekend, Friday and Sunday, 2 different sets, 2 different opening acts. 2-night tickets and single show tickets are both on sale now. Get all the details and find a bonus chance to win a pair of free tickets for Metallica right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app. And if you want, you can play our little game right now. Text in to win free tickets at 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. And you have to guess who's playing today. Carey?
Yeah.
Okay.
U.S. Vice Presidents.
Ooh, I like it. U.S. Vice Presidents. How many can Carey Davis name in 30 seconds? Text in now and tell us how many Carey can name.
All right, Carey Davis, you have 49 to name here in 30 seconds.
All right.
Do you have a prediction for yourself?
I think I can get somewhere between 7 and 10.
Do we have to have first names?
I'm going to need first names on you can't just say like, you know,
Johnson.
Smith and be like, yeah, Johnson.
Yeah.
Franklin. You can't with really bland names like that, I'm going to need a first name. If it's a kind of a crazy name, I'll give it to you on the last one.
Okay.
So
I know a lot of these guys early on were vice presidents before they were presidents. So.
Yeah, good play.
Interesting strategy. All right. Are you ready,
Yep.
Carey Davis? All right, Carey Davis is going to begin guessing. 3, 2, 1.
Dan Quayle, Dick Cheney, Joe Biden, Pence, John Madison, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Lyndon B. Johnson, John Quincy Adams, John Monroe, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, Martin Van Buren, Henry Harrison, Thomas Taylor, current
one.
Who did I say? Oh, man.
Well, Carey, not as many of the early presidents were vice presidents as you thought. You did get a couple of them. You said John Adams, who was the first vice president. You said Thomas Jefferson. You also did say John Tyler, who also was a vice president. That, I believe, is the only former... did you say Calvin Coolidge?
No. I did not.
You did not say Calvin Coolidge. So my total count for you was 8.
I got
8 vice presidents from Carey Davis. I liked the former president one that got you 3 of your 8. So it was a very good job there. The one that I believe Randy was trying to make you get was Kamala Harris.
Oh my God.
The current vice president
From Missouri, Harry Truman would have been a good one too. Harry S. Truman.
Yeah, but 8 for Carey Davis.
I said 7 to 10.
Oh, not bad. Not bad.
Al Gore?
I did not.
He did not say Al
that
Gore.
you got
No.
Dick Cheney. That's
Dan
always
Quayle.
a good throwback one.
Dan Quayle was a really good one. I liked that one a lot. That was good. Which is fair because I can never spell his name.
Quayle.
Yes,
Is that
very
it?
good. Yes, Quayle.
Y-L-E?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For a guy who couldn't spell potato, he had a
A-I-L.
T-A-T-O-E.
He had a confusing name. By the way, there is some developments that have been made in the Michigan story. I don't know if you guys have been following this one. Michigan accused of sign stealing. They have to suspend a employee, Connor Stallings, and now it has been revealed that he bought tickets to 11 games around the country. None of those games involved Michigan. They didn't, in fact, though, involve teams that Michigan would eventually be playing on their schedule. And at least one surveillance video, according to sources from one of these games, says that the person who sat in that seat had their phone up and was filming the opposing sideline for the majority of the game. There have also been cases where they have proven that there have been multiple tickets purchased across from each other, essentially. Usually there's been a pattern in the ticket buying here. Apparently the tickets always purchased around the 45-yard line with a raised area that you can then see the entire game from. A couple of the times they were, like I said, multiple tickets bought on opposite 45-yard lines. In those games, multiple times, both teams happened to be future teams on Michigan's schedule. It seemed a little kind of shaky when I first heard it, just like when you hear sign stealing, you wonder how egregious is this going to be. This report, though, pretty freaking egregious here from Michigan.
And I'm a Harbaugh guy, but Harbaugh had to know.
Here's the thing about when you're doing signs, especially at that level, it is your responsibility as a team that is doing the signs to change up your signs, change up your sign, your signal caller. It's never the same person every single time. Now, if you take video and you put together the plays along with the signs of the 3 or 4 people that are doing the signs, eventually you can figure it out. But it's also, as again, your responsibility to change up what the signs mean. When I played in Indianapolis, Peyton Manning would change the audibles. He could change them from quarter to quarter. It could go from this meaning this to this being a dummy call now. It does not matter. We just changed it. Yes, Omaha meant this in the first half. Omaha means nothing in the second half. It's a dummy call. And we're going to shift and align in the same way we did in the first half. And they're going to think it's the same play, but they're the dummies because we changed it.
We're just using it to build a production company out of.
That as well. But it's you have to be intelligent enough as an offense to understand that the plays have changed, the calls have changed, the signals have changed, and it's because people do cheat. People do steal signs. People do write down, take notes, what words are coming out of the quarterback's mouth so they can remember it for later on in the game or for later on in the future. And so as an offensive play caller, that's your responsibility, especially at that level. You got 50,000 people on your sideline. You got 100 people. Figure it out, man. I mean, should Michigan be sending someone to games and posting them up at the 45-yard line and taking videos? No. But you have to know that people are going to do it. So you figure out how to beat the cheaters by changing up what you're doing.
And to that extent, though, is my whole issue of it, where he's literally flying out to these other games where there's no reason for him to be out there. To that extent, do you think there's many other teams who are also doing the exact same thing in college football specifically? Do you think this is happening?
They're smarter people, not buying tickets with their own credit card and going to the games and sitting at the same spot every week.
And part of that tracking was because it was around the country. Michigan wasn't even expending for this guy to fly all around. He was transferring tickets to at least 3 other parties, which means they had other people. If there were certain of these games that were away games from the Big Ten, they were other people in the country who were picking up these tickets and going for it.
Is he?
Well, I mean, I'm not. I mean, the guy's a patsy. I mean, He's not the one who thought of this.
To your point, Brooke, though.
He didn't think of anything, clearly.
I can't imagine that there's only one team that's doing this or one person in America that's doing this. I would think that, especially...
It's coming from somewhere.
Yeah, with all the turnover in the Harbaugh staff, either somebody else is either doing it or this is how they found out about it, how the NCAA found out about it.
I believe this goes under one of Carey's favorite things. Either coaching it or allowing it.
There you go. Yeah. I told my kids that yesterday.
It's either Harbaugh's idea or he knows whose idea it is.
Yeah. Told him, I know I ain't coaching this, but I am allowing it. And after today, not no more.
So we've got Blues, we've got NBA, we've got Game 7 tonight. Where's everybody's focus? All starting right around 7 o'clock.
Well, I'm not worried about that. I'll get to the NBA at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, gotcha.
I'm going to be a little sluggish first half of the day, just so you all know. I'm not going to bed till about 12:30.
Matthew's not either. So it's okay.
Also, SLU tips off in an exhibition game at 7 p.m.
Oh, nice.
Chivas Arena.
There you go.
Good.
I'm going to be watching. Well, you got to watch Game 7. You got to flip back and forth between Game 7 and the Blues, see how well they're performing or if they are sluggish as they were against the Coyotes.
Hashtag LGB and Toropchenko.
And God bless picture-in-picture.
Oh yeah,
because that YouTube TV thing where I'm getting 2 screens right next to each other. That was so money last night, and it's going to be very crucial tonight.
I just have 2 big screens right next to each other, big boy.
Very nice.
Yeah. Great job by our producer, audio engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
The plebe with 1 TV. Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
How about that?
CD?
Show us your face. We want to see your face. Who said that? You want to see my face?
Hey, don't forget Blues hockey coming up at 6:45. T-Mac and Ajax coming up with a balloon party right after us, and then BK and Ferrario 11 to 2. Fastlane from 2 to 6. I don't know if Jamie's going to join from Winnipeg or not. Is he? I think he is. It's a late start. It's a 6:45 pregame, so he can do it from if they have internet in Winnipeg. For all of us, for all of us, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. Till tomorrow morning, Hump Day at 7. Have a great Tuesday, St. Louis.
That's right.
Hey, if you're looking for a great place for lunch today, I want you to stop by the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road.